Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, hit subscribe so you'll never miss the most courageous dog tales we share every day. The harsh, fluorescent glow of Unity General Hospital's ER usually hummed with a predictable rhythm. Distant sirens, hushed conversations, the steady beep of monitors. But on one rain-swept night, that rhythm shattered. The automatic doors hissed open, not to a screaming ambulance, but to a massive, soaking wet Labrador. His fur was matted with rain and something darker, more ominous. He wasn't barking, but a guttural growl rumbled deep in his chest as he dragged something small and still. A child. "Someone call security! There's a dog in the ER!" The shout from a startled nurse sliced through the sterile air. A security guard fumbled for his radio. A doctor dropped her coffee. All eyes, wide with disbelief and horror, locked onto the scene. This wasn't just strange, it was impossible. A dog, alone, delivering a bleeding child. The sheer audacity of it, the raw, desperate urgency, instantly rewrote the night's agenda. The Labrador, Justice, gently, almost reverently set the tiny form down on the nearest gurney. Her name, we would soon learn, was Maya. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, her hair matted, her feet bare, and an array of scratches and dried blood streaking her face. But it wasn't just the fresh wounds that chilled Nurse Jenkins as she scrambled towards the child. It was the older marks. Faded bruises and faint scars around her ankles, hinting at a prolonged, unspeakable ordeal. Maya wasn't crying, but her wide, terrified eyes were locked on the ceiling, as if afraid to blink. Justice, panting hard, let out a deep, low bark, then another, and another. These weren't random sounds, they were a demand. "Get someone in here, now!" His heavy vest, battered and blood-streaked, was still strapped to his chest, and his fur carried the scent of wet earth and something else. Something metallic and unsettling. He didn't whimper, didn't panic, just stared straight ahead like a soldier on a mission, daring anyone to approach his precious cargo. The chaos blurred into action, doctors wheeling Maya into trauma, security following Justice down the hall, and half the staff whispering about how a dog could bring a child here alone. No ID, no adult, no car in the parking lot, just a canine dog and a bleeding little girl delivered like something out of a horror film. Justice wasn't chipped, according to the hospital scanner, but someone had clearly cared for him at some point. A faded canine patch still hung crooked from his old harness. Maya, on the other hand, was a complete unknown. No wallet, no phone, no paperwork. Just a single word, a fragile breath whispered through cracked lips as they carried her away. Safe. She passed out seconds later. In our busy, logical world, we often dismiss the impossible, the unconventional. How easy it is to overlook the silent pleas of those who cannot speak, or to misinterpret the desperate actions of an animal. This was a call to pay attention to the subtle signals, the gut feelings that defy logic. Meanwhile, a subtle unease began to creep through the hospital. Nurse Jenkins noticed it first. A flickering light in the hallway, a brief shadow passing by the glass of Maya's room, just at the edge of perception. Was it just the late hour, or was something else at play? A new night nurse, unfamiliar with the hospital's layout, asked a seemingly innocent question about the patient in room 312, Maya's room, sparking a fleeting moment of suspicion in Nurse Jenkins' mind. In the hurried pace of the ER, such small details were easily dismissed, but a subtle, unsettling feeling lingered. Detective Miles, a sharp, observant officer from the local precinct, was called in. He stared at the monitor showing Justice curled protectively by Maya's trauma room door, a flicker of recognition, then a jolt. "Wait a minute," he murmured, his voice laced with disbelief. "I know that dog." It was Justice. Canine Unit 734. Reported missing 8 months ago after a devastating fire that claimed the life of his handler, Officer Reynolds. The official report stated Justice was never found. The collective disbelief was palpable. Officer Reynolds, a true hero, had died trying to save kids from that inferno. Justice, his loyal partner, had vanished. Now, here he was, a ghost from a tragedy, bringing a new mystery. Why would he come back now? Nurse Jenkins asked, her voice filled with awe. Detective Hayes' face went pale. "That house that burned down," she said slowly. They said it had underground rooms. A chilling realization began to dawn. Justice wasn't merely lost. He was a phantom, carrying a secret from the grave. The image of the fire, the smoke, the desperate search for Reynolds and then for Justice himself, flashed through Hayes' mind. It wasn't just a tragic accident, it was a gaping wound in their precinct's history, now unexpectedly ripped open by the very dog they thought was gone. Justice, the loyal partner, had been carrying a burden, a mission all this time. Maya's name, finally confirmed after she briefly mumbled it, revealed another shocking truth. She had been missing for at least a year. No school records, no birth certificate, no CPS file, she wasn't on any list. But the old needle bruises and scars around her ankles, combined with the profound trauma in her eyes, screamed a darker story. "She's not just injured," the attending doctor whispered during a debrief. "She's been held somewhere hidden." Dr. Anya Sharma, the hospital psychiatrist, pulled up a chair beside Maya's bed. Justice watched her with suspicion, tail low, a quiet rumble in his chest. "Hi, Maya," Dr. Sharma said softly. "I'm Dr. Sharma. Do you mind if I talk to you a little?" Maya nodded, but didn't speak. Dr. Sharma gently redirected. "That's okay. We don't have to talk about what happened. I just wanted to ask about Justice." Maya's gaze flicked down to the dog, her hand buried deep in his thick fur. "He's my best friend," she said quietly. When asked how long she'd known him, Maya hesitated, then whispered, "He came after the second time. The second time they came back, took the others. I was hiding. Justice found me in the dark." That sentence hit like a sledgehammer. A chilling echo of countless missing children reports, often dismissed as runaways or domestic disputes. Society's tendency to overlook or misinterpret signs of abuse, especially when victims are unable or afraid to speak, suddenly felt like a glaring, painful mistake. Nurse Sharma and Nurse Jenkins, with their observant eyes and empathetic hearts, were the exceptions, proving that sometimes listening with your heart can reveal truths logic misses. Later that evening, hospital security reviewed the footage. Justice appeared on camera just once before entering, walking alone in the storm, dragging a piece of cloth in his mouth, a ragged blanket clinging to Maya's shoulders. His steps were tired but determined, like he'd been walking for miles. A blood trail found outside confirmed it. Authorities followed it 2 miles through backwoods and overgrown trails to a drainage tunnel near the old Millbrook Mill. Inside they found something chilling. A cage, empty now but freshly disturbed, scratches on the walls, child-sized footprints in the mud, and what looked like makeshift restraints scattered across the floor. Justice hadn't stumbled on Maya by accident. He knew exactly where to go. This wasn't a random act of heroism, it was a targeted rescue, a dog fulfilling a long unfinished mission. The eerie atmosphere of the tunnel, the chilling discovery of the cage, stood in stark contrast to the sterile, brightly lit hospital, highlighting the horrific journey Maya and Justice had endured. Sometimes the greatest acts of courage happen in the darkest, most forgotten places, driven by an unwavering sense of duty and love. Maya, in a rare moment of quiet, drew a picture. It wasn't a child's typical drawing of rainbows or stick figures. It was a windowless room, gray walls, a big door with metal locks, a box in the corner with something scribbled inside that looked like a face, and beside it, in crayon black strokes, a figure shaped like a dog, Justice. But there were other shapes too, tiny hands reaching through bars, a person holding what looked like a needle, an X drawn over one child's body, crucially under the cross a name, Leo. Nurse Jenkins and Dr. Sharma stared at the drawing, their hearts freezing. This wasn't just a memory, it was evidence. A cry for help for others. The raw, unfiltered horror of the drawing, the realization that Maya wasn't alone, fueled a desperate urgency. And then Justice acted. He led Nurse Jenkins to a hidden panel in the hospital's old pediatric psych unit, a wing closed years ago after a funding scandal. Behind the panel, taped to the inside wall, was another child's drawing. It matched Maya's exactly. Same room, same door, same strange box. But this version had more names: Sarah, Ben, Leo. Justice had been here before. As the investigation intensified, a new threat emerged. A figure was caught on camera entering the hospital through a boiler access, bypassing the main entrance logs. Justice, despite being asleep, sensed his arrival. He shot up like a bolt of lightning, growled once, and then bolted from Maya's room. Maya opened her eyes just as he ran. "Don't let them take me again," she whispered, her voice laced with raw terror. The tension built as Justice hunted the intruder through the hospital's forgotten corridors. Officer Lena Hayes, Detective Miles' partner, responded to the security breach, her adrenaline already rushing. It was just past 3:00 a.m. when Justice cornered the intruder in the industrial maze of pipes and wires beneath Unity General. The man wore all black, thin frame, surgical gloves, and in his hand a pressurized syringe, capped and loaded with something fast-acting. He wasn't here to talk, he was here to finish the job. Justice stood blocking the only way out, eyes locked, no growl, no bark, just stillness. The high kind that lives between breath and explosion. The man took a step back. Justice advanced. "This dog," the intruder muttered. "It's you." He raised the syringe. "That was a mistake." Officer Hayes arrived seconds later to find the man on the floor, face bloodied, syringe snapped. Justice stood over him with a snarl curling through his teeth. "Easy, Justice, stand down," she shouted. Justice didn't move. Not until Maya's voice echoed faintly through the stairwell vent. "Justice, please, come back." And just like that, his ears perked. He stepped off the intruder and turned. Mission complete. True protection isn't just physical. It's an unwavering presence, a silent promise that resonates deeper than words. For those who have been traumatized, this kind of steadfast loyalty is the foundation of healing. The man was cuffed, Mirandized, and taken into custody. No ID on him, no wallet, but the tattoos under his gloves, rows of tiny barcode lines along each knuckle, matched photos from an old investigation file. This was the guy from the 2013 missing children's case in Memphis. They claimed he died in a fire. They lied, Miles said grimly. And now he came back for Maya, which means whoever gave the order is still out there. Back in her room, Maya clutched Justice like a lifeline. Dr. Sharma sat beside her with warm tea and a soft voice. "Can you tell me who that man was?" Maya hesitated. "He took Leo," she whispered. "Leo was little, younger than me. He didn't stop crying, so they said he had to go." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I tried to help him. Justice did too. But we were too late." The words opened a dam. Over the next few hours, Maya began to speak more than she ever had since arriving. In fits and fragments, she described the rooms, the doctors, the cold food trays, the numbers on the walls. She said they were given codes instead of names. She said there were tests when the lights blinked red. She said one girl disappeared after biting a technician. And she said Justice came to her cell at night. "He chewed through the lock," she whispered. "He got me out, but they chased us." The difficulty child victims face in recounting trauma and the importance of creating a safe, trusting environment became painfully clear. At the precinct, digital forensics turned up a lead. The man arrested, known only by the alias Nash, had a burner phone with encrypted messages, some deleted, but partially recovered. One message caught Miles's attention. Subject M recovered. Location compromised. Thorne wants cleanup. No loose ends. The name Dr. Elias Thorne emerged, a phantom of underground experimentation, a neurobehavioral specialist, banned from every major ethics board, suspected in multiple international investigations, but never caught, never seen. Until now. The scale of the operation was far greater than initially imagined. Thorne was the mastermind, exploiting loopholes in vulnerable populations, creating ghosts in the system, missing children whose cases were never followed up. The initial fire that killed Officer Reynolds and lost Justice was likely a cover-up for Thorne's first facility, a calculated act to erase his tracks. Then came the horrifying scope. A half-melted hard drive from the old Millbrook tunnels was recovered. It contained 143 individual profiles, each with a coded ID, age, genetic summary, and behavioral notes. Only 38 were marked released. The others were unresponsive, terminated, or erased. This wasn't just kidnapping, it was systematic experimentation. The sheer number of victims, the cold, clinical language used to describe them, sent chills down their spines. The chilling realization of the extent of human depravity, contrasting sharply with the innocence of children, and the calculated cruelty of Thorne's research, was almost unbearable. The importance of vigilance and believing the unbelievable, especially when it comes to the most vulnerable among us, became a stark, undeniable truth. Evil often hides behind the guise of science or progress. Several files on the hard drive referenced a new location, Phase 2 launch site. The Havenwood Institute, a private compound miles away, listed under a shell company with a fake address and no public record. This is where Thorne went, upgrading his operations. Miles briefed a multi-agency task force. "The structure we found was obsolete," he stated, his voice grim. "But Havenwood, that's still active. We go in, we go hard, and we bring everyone home." And Justice? He was coming too. Officer Lena Hayes loaded him into the back of her cruiser. Justice sat tall, ears up, his quiet resolve palpable, as if he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a reckoning. The collective strength that emerged when people came together to fight this injustice, inspired by an unlikely hero, was undeniable. The retired K-9, was now the unofficial Subject Zero, the catalyst for bringing down a vast criminal enterprise. Dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as the convoy moved in silence. 8 vehicles, 2 K9s, tactical support, but Justice rode alone, without muzzle or vest, just the old tag on his collar that read, Unit 734, Justice. He wasn't just a dog anymore. He was the key. As the first rays of light broke over the pine trees, the team breached the outer fence of the Havenwood Institute. Barbed wire, watchtowers, security cameras, some real, some fake. The building itself looked like a retreat center, stone walls, even a chapel. But Justice ignored it all. He led them straight to a hidden utility door in the side of the chapel. Miles kicked it open. Behind it, stairs. More stairs, and another hidden level down below. The walls were clean, white, lit by sterile LEDs. Fresh, functional. It didn't look like torture, it looked like a research lab, which somehow was worse. They moved room by room, clearing, calling out, checking cells, and then voices. Children crying. Then singing. Alive. Miles radioed in, his voice thick with emotion. "We found them! I repeat, we found them!" In the last room, Justice stopped. He growled once, then lunged at the glass. Inside was a man in a lab coat, gray hair, calm as a corpse. Dr. Elias Thorne. "You made it, dog," Thorne sneered, a chilling smile playing on his lips. The overwhelming relief and joy of finding the children alive was immediately contrasted by the cold, calculating presence of Thorne, who spoke freely about his research, never calling the children by name, but admitting he stayed to see if Justice would return. Dr. Thorne was arrested without resistance. Thousands of his files were archived and backed up, providing irrefutable evidence. That night, Maya was reunited with 2 of the children from the lab, Sarah and Ben. They recognized each other immediately. They cried, they hugged, they lived. Because of Justice. They called it the Havenwood Miracle. Officer Lena Hayes, who had never had kids of her own, took Maya and Justice into her home, transforming her quiet farmhouse into a haven filled with books, laughter, and a backyard where Justice could run free. Maya called Hayes Aunt Lena by the second week. She slept through the night. She giggled when Justice snored, and, every morning, she fed him a slice of toast, half peanut butter, half bacon grease. The ritual stuck. "He earned it," she'd say proudly, watching Justice lick the plate clean. The long road to recovery for child trauma survivors, and the vital role of safe environments and loving caregivers, was just beginning. Dr. Elias Thorne was sentenced to life in a maximum security facility. He never apologized, never cried. But when asked why he chose children, he gave an answer that chilled every person in the courtroom. They're the future, and futures can be molded. His chilling final words served as a stark warning. Justice wasn't in the courtroom, but had he been, the man would have flinched. Justice was nationally recognized. Retired Canine exposed human experimentation ring. He was awarded the Medal of Valor. The public recognition of Justice heroism became a powerful symbol of hope and justice. True heroism doesn't always wear a badge or speak in human words. Sometimes it's a quiet, unwavering presence, a bark that demands to be heard, a loyalty that transcends understanding. This story is a testament to resilience, truth, and the incredible bond between a child and her silent protector. Maya, now older, reflects on Justice's actions. "Sometimes grown-ups don't believe you," she says softly. "But that's okay, because heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes they just bark until someone listens." Justice, now older and slower, still scans the horizon when the wind picks up, still sleeps by the door, still walks Maya to the mailbox every morning, and he still wears his original K9 tag, worn and scratched but proud, a reminder that even in retirement, duty never truly ends. To everyone who followed this story to the very end, thank you. We know this journey was difficult, emotional, and at times heartbreaking, but it was also a tribute to resilience, to truth, and to the incredible bond between a child and her silent protector. Now, we want to hear from you. If Justice hadn't barked, would anyone have believed Maya? And how many other stories are waiting to be uncovered, if only we'd listen to those who can't speak? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and never forget, sometimes, the most powerful voices are the ones we least expect. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of unseen heroes and unbreakable bonds. Your support helps us bring these vital stories to light.